little world that she lives in now. And it is tiny. You know, it's really her, my sister, and sometimes my sister's boyfriend. But that's it. That's it.
Oh,
She doesn't go outside of her apartment to, you know, she might walk down to do her laundry,
Yeah.
but they're not supposed to intermingle, and you know, they keep all that because of COVID. But now they just opened everything up. So people can go in now. So, you know, it's not how I would want to live. You know, it was her life changed so dramatically when she moved down there in so many ways. They were, you know, 180-degree, sometimes 360-degree changes in there.
mhm.
She went from a huge house with a big piece of property, a decent sized piece of property, not big, in a neighborhood that, you know, they were there for
Mhm.
55 years. 55
Wow.
years in the same neighborhood. My father built the entire neighborhood, you
Wow.
know. And you know, she just up and you know, she was tired of it and said, "I'm done." I said, "Done? These people can't drive an hour to see you and hang out and go to lunch and do your red hatters and this that. That's over, mom. That is over." You know. And I really think she's tremendously influenced, and I think my sister's influence um, was for years she was pecking at her, you know. We're gonna find you places, and you know, because my mother saying, "I gotta get out of here. I can't keep this house." She didn't have to worry about money. She didn't have to worry about doing things. My father was a contractor, and he was the head of the supervisor. He was a supervisor of all of the maintenance at a college. So every building, every
Wow.
problem, from electrical to plumbing to heating to construction and contract, that was his job. He oversaw all of it because he was a very, very skilled carpenter, and could do anything.
Mm.
So the house was constantly being
Wow.
maintained, fresh paint every couple years. You know, they didn't upgrade everything, but you know, the structure of the house and this, that, and the other thing was kept very, very, very
Mm.
nice. Uh, so, but she doesn't have, she never had to worry about it. There's other people to do that now. It's not like she had to start painting the walls, you know
Mhm.
what I mean, or ripping up
Yeah.
a floor, revarnishing a floor. No, uh, but she chose this very, very confined, you know, confined life there, and it
Mm.
went, got very, very confined in a very short period of time because she saw how much she couldn't hear the person sitting next to her at lunch when all the ladies would meet. She's, I don't want to go. I don't like what they're talking. And besides, I can't even hear them. Oh, okay. Maybe you should address that part of it and then go out and enjoy it, because she wanted to do,
Yeah.
they have some silly little things, uh, you know, the events that they do, a belly dance, and we're like, yeah, ma, take pictures because we want to see you belly
Yeah.
dancing, you know. You know, she goes, I don't know, I don't want any of those men peeking in the window. I heard that the men are standing and looking in the, oh, for the love of Jesus. Yeah, stop it.
Wow. But you know, I just clicked something
Uh,
that the hearing and the loss of hearing has become associated with awkwardness. She's not making the connection. She wasn't hearing properly and she was very uncomfortable. So now the loss of hearing and getting a hearing aid, hearing, it's all associated in her brain with severe discomfort.
yeah.
It's astonishing.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And it's easier for her to not have that discomfort. So she chooses not to hear. Yeah. Because she associates the difficulty or the discomfort of hearing with other people and communicating and stuff.
Sorry, say that again, Sue. I lost the middle part of it there.
That's okay. Now I just said that, yeah, that's interesting because she associated the difficulty and the discomfort of hearing with her social interactions. So now, so that she doesn't have to deal with that discomfort, she just secludes herself and has minimal conversations or one way. It's not that she doesn't speak. They're one-way conversations.
Exactly.
It's a comical, and
Yeah.
we joked about it not our whole lives, but since she's been really having trouble hearing, that you can't get a word in edgewise with my mother. She just and she's funny. She's almost like a Cheryl. She has those funny little quirky things, and when she tells a story, she knows how to tell a story. But you can't talk to her. You can't even give her feedback on it. You can barely laugh because so you're right. No, there is an association there. I absolutely get that.
It's amazing. And she's associated the loss of hearing with feeling uncomfortable, and just hearing in general with also with social nonsense and inappropriateness, but because she couldn't hear, and she's not making the connection that it will change her relationships when she can actually hear. I wonder how far back this hearing goes, the loss of hearing.
I'm trying to think. It's probably it's worse. She's been down there, I think 3 years, 4 years. She's probably right. It was probably before that, maybe a year or two before that. My dad's been gone.
For what?
My dad's been gone, transitioned about 10 years ago. I would say a couple years after that, it kind of exacerbated itself. We'd always we'd catch her ma, and we'd say something, but it just got so bad that it was just too obvious to everybody, but
interesting.
vanity.
Interesting. Yeah.
She uses.
I mean, his transition was a big deal for her, right?
Oh, yeah, because the man who controlled her.
I mean, it's maybe associated in some way.
It could be.
That. Yeah.
My
that, the hearing may bring back painful memories or stuff. Who knows?
Maybe but my sister is now my father, and I said that to my mother a long time ago. I said, Barb is just dad. And it's funny because my mom calls her Jack Jr., calls my sister Jack Jr. Wow. Same with Jack, because she does everything. She puts her in her place, and mom, don't sometimes she talks just like my father did to her. My sister's got a lot on her plate.
Wow.
But
and your mom's okay with this?
That's the only life she knew. See, I don't work like that. I don't know. I think it's because that's how she was comfortable. And for my mother, she's not a stupid woman. She goes, yeah, your sister, I call her Jack Jr. She's just like your father. And everybody laughs,
Wow.
But how freaking true. And, what's attached to all that is pretty deep, pretty amazing, So.
Yeah. So she's aware that she's being kind of bullied and manipulated and being taken care of and being told what to do.
Yep. Yeah. She was always told she was stupid. Marianne, you can't even boil water. And you can't even boil water without ruining it. And she could cook. My father was a phenomenal cook. But he never allowed her pasta was very, she could make good things, but he would never want to give her that praise in any way, shape, or form. It was always tearing her down to make him look good. Who does that sound like in PSP?
He didn't want one.
He didn't want to let her know that she was worth anything. He would always tear her down at every chance that he get. Marianne, you can't do that. You're so stupid. Why would you do that? He wouldn't even let her go grocery shopping because you don't know how to buy groceries. You buy junk. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I tuned a lot of it out, that I didn't completely become that. But please.
Yeah. I'm sort of trying to understand what's in it for her. What's the payoff for not hearing? Does she feel she's going to get criticized?
I think a lot of it's her anxiety if she knows too much, it really stresses her out. You know, the littlest things, if she knows that her nephew and his husband is going to Thailand. What are they going to Thailand for? That's ridiculous. Oh my God, this could happen. You know, she lives in fear constantly, always has, because her
Wow.
parents would never let her have a bicycle or anything because you could get hurt. Okay, yeah, you could walk out your freaking
Yeah.
door and get hurt too. Does that mean you never leave the house? No, but you know, that's where a lot of that,
Mm.
you know, and you know, my grandmother was clinically
Mm.
depressed. That's what they
Mm.
called it back then. And my grandfather, he hung himself when my mother was 21 years
Mm.
old. You know, while everybody was having lunch, he was out in the back porch hanging himself with a rope on the clothesline.
Wow.
And then my
Yeah.
grandmother does the same, tries to do the same thing, only she lived.
Mm.
So,
Right.
I mean, she's dealt with a lot. There's no question, but she's never found resolution. She's never found peace with any of that because my father's side of the family blamed her and my grandmother for
Blamed you.
his death.
Blamed your mom?
My mother and my grandmother for his death. You know, it was an arranged marriage, you know, Italian
Wow.
arranged marriage. And she was married. I think my grandmother was married at like 13. She came over here and I mean, they had a big macaroni factory in Italy, in Sicily. Why they all decided to come, I guess, you know, it was the land of opportunities. So they all came over, and my grandmother, because she didn't speak English,
Wow.
they put her in kindergarten. My grandmother was
Wow.
humiliated. So she went to work in a brassiere factory. And, you know, my grandfather was a shoe cobbler, a shoemaker. And I guess he just, you know, what was back then, you know, to the tune of $2,000 debt is equivalent probably to 200,000 nowadays, if not more. And it was
Yeah.
couldn't pay his debts back. So my mother and my grandmother paid his debts after he died.
Wow.
So, but she lost a lot in that. She lost cousins on my father's side who were extremely, extremely close.
I'm sort of
her.
trying to connect this all to the hearing aid issue. Yeah.
Yeah, the
You know why she doesn't? What's the downsides for her to hear?
Well, I guess maybe that she's just going to hear the truth that she doesn't want to hear. It's the truth, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it a kind of a, not a
It's
fantasy?
what she believes. That's what I'm saying. I think the base belief is that the avoidance of unhappiness.
Yeah. Right. The more she knows,
Believing that it's
the more worried and discomfort she feels. Yes. You know,
Yeah.
but again, if
Yeah.
that's her choice, which ultimately I am not going to push her to do anything she doesn't want to do. But the bottom line is there's consequences here. There's consequences. I can't talk to you, Ma. Really? How do you have a conversation with someone who can't hear you? The frustration, I mean, is equal for me. I'm like, oh my God. First, I thought it was just kind of funny because, you know, if I don't talk to her for a while, she just about people and you know, her friends that try to call her and, you know, but it's amazing what she does hear. It's not that she doesn't hear anything. You know, it's like selective hearing.
Yeah.
When Bill and I were first married,
Yeah.
I would tell him something, and then a couple of days later, I said, "Oh, we're going. Don't forget 5 o'clock tonight." He goes, "Well, what is it? What are we doing?" And I was constant. I said, "Bill, do you not remember, or can't you hear?" So I said, "You're going to the audiologist. I want your ears checked. I want to see if you have selective hearing, or if there is or if there is a problem here. So he goes to the audiologist, and the guy goes, he was like 40 years old or 30 some years old. He says, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "My wife, my wife made me come." She wants to know if my hearing is selective. There's a problem. And he comes home, and my hearing's perfectly fine. I said, "See, it's selective hearing. You only hear what you want to hear."
There's or one guy, he said, I have semi-permeable hearing. I thought that was perfect. That's what Bill has. Semi-permeable hearing. So a new diagnosis for him now.
Oh, that's good. That sounds pretty official.
That he inherited it from your mom.
Oh my God, please. No, he's got out of that phase now.
Yeah.
I said, I just need to check. I need to get my conscience clear here. I made you an appointment. You're going to the audiologist. We just want to rule out that there is not real hearing loss here, but it was funny. So,
further with your mom. Does your mom get uncomfortable when you say, "I love you, Ma," and, you're being nice to
her? She's never, ever said, "I love you" to me until about 6 months ago. Never.
Wow.
And she tried.
Is she uncomfortable with you saying it to her or the other kids?
No, we've never said it to her. Never said it to our parents. Never. That wasn't the environment that we lived in. You didn't say it. It was assumed.
My connection is really horrible. It just keeps dropping. I'm going to try something different in a moment. I just wanted to hear what you said. So from the head sake, I'm assuming she's okay with you saying you love her or not?
Yeah. I think she's okay because she initiates it every time now. But she just started to do it within 6 months. I mean, never did we say that to each other as a family. She never said it to any of my other brothers and sisters. They never said as husband and wife, "I love you." Nothing. So now for my mom it was like, whoa, what are them words coming out of her mouth? And I went, "I love you too, Mom." At first it was awkward, but but I don't think she doesn't have trouble hearing it. I don't think I've ever said it to her face to face. It's always been on the phone. So it's very weird. Yeah. Oh well, such is life. It's too short.
Hold on one moment. Let me try something else here. This is the worst connectivity I've had for, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to try something else.
Oddly this week it's been progressing. I don't know why, but so this week it's been the worst it's ever been. Except for when you were traveling on the road to Utah. Remember those, Beena? Oy.
Say that again, please, Sue.
Okay. I said the connection is pretty bad this week, but not quite as bad as when you were traveling to Utah.
Yeah, on my end it is. It's not dropping me on the computer, but it's dropping me on the phone like crazy. And normally the phone is the good one. So who knows? I don't know.
Now there's a background noise.
Yeah. I'm gonna fix that in a moment. So I'm using the mic on the camera. So I'm gonna change it to this mic over here. All right. So this mic works well, but I don't hear you on the speaker. I hear you through the other speakers, and I hear that through the big loudspeakers. So
yeah, you're crystal clear right now. Your voice is crystal clear.
Yeah. So, I have to hear you through the thing. You may get a little bitty feedback. So it's not ideal, but for whatever reason, the computer's stable where it was dropping every now and then, not wildly much, but, it didn't matter because it was just a visual. And the phone was solid, but now the phone is not, it's just dropping like literally every minute, So I just hear half of what you say, quite literally. I was just thinking of your mother, the discomfort with the hearing. What could possibly be the reasons? And I thought, if people don't want to hear stuff, all right, people are being negative. There's a perception of negativity, or that they have an expectation of negativity. But also, it could be they don't want to hear positive stuff. Why would you not want to hear positive stuff? Well, if you feel guilty and undeserving, then to hear positive stuff makes you wildly uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, nobody ever really complimented her.
yeah, interesting.
I mean, especially my father, I mean, I'll always say to her, "Oh, Mom, you look pretty today," or, "That's a nice outfit," or "Your hair looks great." Just because, I mean, she never really heard that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
but she may be really awkward with that stuff because, if she feels that she's guilt, like if she really really bought into being responsible for her father or her grandfather's death, her father, which one?
her father.
Right. If she really bought into that and she feels guilty and responsible for that, well, I don't deserve goodness, And then and when you do have that psychology, when you do get goodness and you feel you're undeserving, it makes you very uncomfortable,
Hmm. Yeah.
very unhappy. It's very stressful to receive goodness when you feel you're undeserving. It's just wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a peculiarity,
Yeah, very peculiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting like feedback from my voice. Your voice is crystal
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. So let me see if I can do a different logic here. All right. Turn you down for a little bit. Hang on a second. All sorts of fun. Why it would decide to change now all of a sudden, who the
Yeah.
heck knows, It was all fine and good and wonderful, and then just all of a sudden. But we'll figure it out. If
Maybe the RV park or something is having trouble in general with
Yeah,
their
yeah.
connection. Okay.
Oh. I'll just turn you down softer. I was gonna put you on a different headset, but it's not charged, so. Um, oh, is that now? Hey. Here we go. All right, I'll let it charge a little bit here, and then I'll try it a little later on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hear myself now.
Okay. I didn't have to turn it down very much. I just didn't want to not hear you. So yeah, as long as it's not too loud, this
Yeah, it's
microphone
fine.
is sensitive. But yeah. All right, cool. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. It's a bit of a puzzle. This resistance. Vanity's one thing, but when it really starts to impinge on your practicality, it just seems to me like a bit of an excuse now.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I'm going to, when I see her in person or whatever, I'm going to ask her, why would you not want to get one?
I would just
Please help
buy
me
her a
understand.
hearing aid, and that's it. Just give it to her and say, yeah, if you want to talk to
Well,
me,
you have
put it
to,
on.
now
You
you
don't
have
have
to
to.
be fitted.
Oh, they
You
have
have
to
to
be
be
fitted.
fitted for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, true. Yeah.
And they have to all be made in
Tuned.
sync just to do. And I mean, they're quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
They're not those big things that hung around your
Right.
ears
You
and
can't even see them, the new ones. They're so tiny,
exactly.
Yeah. And does her
And her
hair
hair
cover
is
her
short.
ears?
No, her hair is
No.
shorter than mine. It's very
Oh.
similar, but it's shorter than mine. So
Anyway, it's not, the vanity thing is not an issue. I mean, come on, you live in a home with other older people. I'm sure half of them have hearing aids, yeah?
it's a convenient excuse for her
Yeah,
to not
yeah.
go in and think about what's really going on.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm just gonna voice my opinion.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Yeah, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Interesting to see what comes of it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe
Yeah,
today or tomorrow we'll get some more
Yeah.
resolutions. So.
I know it's very powerful and beautiful the way you express that. You know, I'm sort of a bit surprised at Bill's comment a little bit, not entirely, but you know, it's powerful and forceful, but at the same time, it's direct. And you know, it seems to me your mother likes directness. No.
Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. You know, when I was reading it to Bill, I could see his eyes getting bigger and bigger as I and hotter. You know, and then I got up from the table and I addressed the envelope. I folded it up. I addressed the envelope. He goes, "Are you really sending that?" Yeah, I said it was butter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might
No.
want to wait a day or two and
Yeah.
think about it.
I mean, it's good. It's good. What Bill's prudence. I think he's more surprised, if you ask me, at the fact that you are doing
I
this.
wanted to.
I don't think it's the effect on your mom, but he doesn't want you to have a regret later. So you know, that's very admirable. Yeah.
I think I'm tired of being afraid to say something to
Exactly.
upset the apple cart in the family,
Exactly.
because it's going to put
Exactly.
some friction
Exactly.
somewhere. People aren't going to agree, but guess what? I am so over
Right.
that. Since I've
Well,
been doing this
exactly. I mean, if you don't like it, toughies. You know, what's worse than this? What's worse than what we have now? Nothing. You know, if you don't like it, you don't want to speak to me. All right, you know, so be it. I'm prepared for that. But I'd rather have no communication than this absurd, frustrated communication. This is terrible. You know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. So.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Go
Brilliant.
on to
Brilliant.
Capital D Diplomacy, Module 2. We're finishing the tasks on slide 14. We're about halfway through.
Okay, Module 2, slide 14. Very good indeed. Beena, before we go on to this, you have anything to add?
No, nothing. I was listening. That was good.
Thought maybe Beena wanted to come to America and give my mom an ass whooping.
Your mom or you?
Give my mom.
Oh, your mom. Okay. I can't imagine or picture that.
That's why it was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. Beena's gonna
You
give
bad
her-
girl, Ma. You making your daughter unhappy. What's wrong with you? What are you thinking? What's
Directly, this is what I am expert in this. I can ask directly whatever I feel that, but you being ready to say that, okay,
Yeah.
no, I cannot communicate. That was for me, that was the sign that you are no more dependent. You are not more in need of her acknowledgement for your being.
Exactly. The same with William.
Exactly.
It's done. I'm done. I'm done with it. And that's when I get my power. That's when I say, I can do this. I am changing this. This is my choice here. I don't care what other people think. I've thought about it, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the aggravation. You know, and sometimes, again, it just makes people think twice. Maybe my mother doesn't realize what she's doing to all of us and how frustrated. If she knew that, I think she would be partially mortified that this is that she was causing this kind of discomfort to us, because it was, oh my God, what's the matter? What's the matter, Susan? Oh, you know, and she gets all nervous. So I'm not sure she truly understands the impact and the strong implications that are behind all these, that we can't hear her. We want to. That's like a compliment. Mom, we want to hear what you're saying. We want to have well, we do hear what she's saying. We want to have a real conversation with you. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. It's important, though, to realize. You said something really interesting. You said it in the opposite, kind of. It seemed like it was a contradiction, but it isn't actually. You said, Ma, we do want to hear you. And he said, yeah, but we can actually hear you. No. When somebody doesn't hear us, we don't hear them.
I couldn't tell you what our last conversation was about.
Exactly.
If I'm not being heard, how can I hear her?
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly. It's a non-obvious logic, but it's there. It's amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Fascinating.
if you make this point to her, say it doesn't make sense. But Ma, when you can't hear us, we can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Yeah. It's not a real conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Yeah, really good.
That was really interesting, you know. But a capital H hearing there, right? Just popped out, and it was like, wow! It just smacked me like, poof, there it is. We can't hear if we're not being heard. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Beena?
That's a big deal. That's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah. It's a philosophy
We
of
cannot
opposite.
hear you if we are not being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, skin in the game. If I don't have skin in the game, I don't care. That's why I don't hear you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't get heard, I got no skin in the game. Even if it's just for me to say and ah, I'm still feel like I'm participating in the conversation. It's a conversation. When it's one way, it's just a report. You know, really,
That's why
just
we
a
called her the
broadcast.
radio station. That's why we called her it was like a report from the radio
Exactly.
station. You
Exactly.
can't. The only thing you can do on a radio station is turn it off. You
Yeah,
can't have a
exactly.
conversation back and
Exactly.
forth.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
forget,
Yeah.
like, you have like B104. They used to have a little thing from my mom, what radio station she was, you know. Uh, and these were her friends who used to tell her that
Wow.
30, 40 years ago. Because she just, it's nervousness
Yeah.
that she keeps on talking. But
Yeah. Very
okay,
interesting.
let's go on to the cat.
Very interesting.
How
Ah.
does attention to intent factor into the facilitation of our communications? For me, the attention to intend to be open, flexible, and adaptable creates an opening and a new thought process for the other person in finding their own resolutions. So yeah, if I am open to listen, that I don't have this, laser linear thinking, I open up, they open up. I don't see how it can be any other way. And then that helps them find their own resolution by talking more.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This question is absolutely 100% pertinent to the point we just discussed. Now, everything we might have discussed was actually the answer to this question, right? If somebody's not willing and really shutting off from hearing me, I'm paying attention to their intent. That means that they don't want to, which kills the whole entire interactivity. Why would I listen to you if you really do not want to even hear me?
Hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's intent. It's a communication of intent. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's just another way of what you said before, but it drives that point home.
Exactly. And in the context of capital D diplomacy, in order to, well, in different contexts. But if we are saying, let's say we're in a negotiation context, in a more formal sort of diplomacy context, but we are applying still our capital D diplomacy. If we establish right from get-go, in order for this thing to work, there needs to be an intent to communicate.
Yeah.
If there's no intent to communicate, you will never be heard. You want to be heard. Make sure that you have an intent to hear. Otherwise, it's not communication, but broadcast. Yeah? And that just loses interest for everybody. So this is very, very important. And also, in a broader context, if we look at like your mom again, what is her intent in not wanting to be heard? Or not wanting to hear, I mean. And not wanting to be heard.
Here's her not. What is her intent, to not be heard?
Yes, if we take that philosophy of opposite, through her
Oh,
not listening to you, she's basically not communicating. So maybe she doesn't really want to be heard either. Maybe she's become aware that she jabbers on about loads of rubbish and stuff.
yeah, it is rubbish. There's no other way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Um. Yeah, but that's something I. The only part she's not going to understand when you say, "What?" If I say, "Mom, what's your intent to not being heard?"
Yeah, the word intent
Because we're
won't.
not having a real conversation. It's like,
Yeah,
you can hear me. I can hear her saying that. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Um.
If she does get a hearing aid, for me personally, what I would do is the very first conversation, I would sit down and apply capital H hearing and take every single thing she says absolutely seriously. Be completely receptive. Doesn't matter how idiotic and nonsensical. I'm listening as if this is the, she's word of God type of conversation. Totally, earnestly, and seriously. The moment that I suspect you do that, initially she might be in the momentum, but when she sees, oh, I'm actually being listened to, I'm actually really being heard. All doesn't matter what I'm saying, it's being taken seriously and earnestly and genuinely. I suspect right then the communication will change.
Hmm.
She has an expectation of not being taken seriously, so she says crap. It's a reverse cueing. This is what I'm supposed to do. So she gives what she's already, has a habit and a history of doing. So she is responding to that expectation that's being cued. But if she puts that hearing aid on, and, yes, go on, yes, let me hear more, but that she can hear your genuine interest, I suspect this whole thing will change.
Yeah, that I really do want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It may take a little while because habit comes into it, but I do suspect it would be quite something. It would be quite a shift. Yeah, in the queuing shift. I suspect that a lot of what's going on is the queuing, and she likely has a lifetime of it with your father. That
yeah.
he just this is what women do. They jabber about nonsense and all this, and that was what he expected from her, and what she produced because he expected it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
now she's stuck in that loop, and because it's become habitualized, you guys begin to expect it because, well, she does it, but it's a self perpetuating loop, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a self-reinforcing loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Good point. So good point.
Something.
Um.
It's just, wow. Wow. I just get this deeper feeling that somewhere in all of this, there's a massive gift coming in all of this. That your mom is a gift.
Yeah. I hope there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some,
I mean,
like,
there's already been gifts for me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But there's more.
yeah,
There's more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So this
Me.
is an amazing thing. It's just
Mhm.
very amazing to me how all this works. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
The next task is share a few examples of non-obvious implications where such might lead from personal experience. Doesn't have to be from a conversation or interaction. It can be from anything. So
Again, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
for me, some examples of non-obvious implications and where they may lead are when someone cannot make a decision about something, it could be easy to assume that we should take over, and that may not always turn out in everyone's favor. Another one, perhaps, is when someone is in a cranky mood, won't mention anybody special, when someone is in a cranky mood but won't say anything or talk about it, it may lead to spreading that crankiness to others around myself or others, or being complicit to that behavior. I don't know if that's what you meant about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking about those non-obvious implications with your mother, the non-obviousness of her perhaps saying all this jabber because it's cute and it's expected of her.
Oh. Okay. Let me write
Yeah,
that
yeah.
down.
Is it still echoing now?
A little bit.
Oh.
On my end, it is.
I was just trying something differently so I can hear you a little bit more closely to me, but it didn't work. It didn't work. So, for whatever reason, this headset, the speaker doesn't work on Zoom. It works for everything else, but not on Zoom. It's the most peculiar thing.
Oh.
Very strange.
So we're implying, my mom's hearing or lack of it is implying that she needs to do that.
In a roundabout way, because she thinks this is what she should do, is just jabber on like this. So yeah,
That's
but
what it is. That's
but
what it is.
yeah, yeah. And maybe the not hearing, she don't want to hear herself.
Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's caught up in a queuing loop. Yeah.
Queuing herself. Yeah. A self-queuing loop.
Right. It's now become a self-queuing thing, but also that everybody around her contributes to this because it's just a self-reinforcing loop. It'd be interesting that the next time you interact with her, to treat her as a client, a very well-paying client.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you go physically, say, Ma, give me $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever. Say, thank you. What do you want it for? All right, there you go. Now I can treat you like a client, so I can really listen to you. I'm paying. Who knows? I don't know. Just to leverage yourself a little bit. Like those clients who get the dollar. So I really want to listen to you, and I'm just using this to leverage myself. Okay, she might not get what you're saying at first, but like you said, she's not stupid. Yeah.
No, she's not.
So, and this is the other frustration potentially, that she's never been really treated for and heard for her intelligence. So, it's like a protest in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not hearing. Fine, you don't want to hear me, I'm not going to hear you. Screw you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she has a bit of that screw you mindset to her, yes? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Screw you.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. That's really interesting, I think her being really taken seriously as somebody intelligent and thoughtful, this would be a big shift. This would be a big shift. The exact way you would treat her as if she was a client. You would look at that moreness. You would listen for that moreness, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Very interesting exercise. Yeah.
Slide 15 is a quote. We too have to have an adamant on applying what we are adamant upon.
That's your letter.
So my takeaway is we must be adamant about our adamants, and that's exactly what my letter is.
Exactly. Exactly. And look at this physical representation of Sue there in the picture. Power. Power, strength. You have lots of power and strength. You don't like this beating around the bush and messing about. You want to say things directly. It really appeals to you. You really enjoy doing that. It's a big deal.
I think because people held back the truth from me to protect me, like with the guy that I dated for 21 years. Everybody else in the whole town knew that he was screwing around on me.
Yeah.
For forever. I didn't want to believe that. He kept me in such a different life that I couldn't go to those places or meet those people and know what he was doing. But all of the family, even my own brothers, would see him out with other women in the bars. Never. And they always used to say, he's an asshole. I would never know why. I just thought it was because he wasn't spending the time he should be with me and for family functions and stuff like that.
Right.
But everyone knew but me. I was the last one to know.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I am so adamant about
one of the reasons.
This is the situation. I'm saying it. I'm talking about it.
One of the reasons. Not the only one. One of the reasons. The other is your deep honesty and your goodness.
Yeah.
I don't want to be complicit. Look at the issue that's bothering you with your mom. It's to be condoning and complicit, and that's a PSP issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that goes through the whole program. Complicity, condoning, inadvertent condoning, inappropriate tolerance, right? Appropriate intolerance. It's a big deal. It's a big theme. So this is really huge. Now, since we're on capital D diplomacy, I love that this is coming up. This is really, really, really potent. We tend to believe that directness of speech is undiplomatic. It's not necessarily so, right? So if you think back now, if somebody had said, casually, by the way, Sue, I saw that boyfriend of yours out with another girl. Just like that. Casual, direct, no big deal, no hoo-ha, just like that. If I imagine me saying that to you, right, back then. Hey, Sue, I saw, what was his name? Dick Brain? I saw Dick Brain out with another girl, messing around with another girl. I said, I'm not saying, I'm stating a fact. I'm not saying, Sue, this is the end of the world and you need to be traumatized. I'm passing on some information. And I'm trusting that you're going to do and act on it sensibly, right? It's implied in my tone, in my communication, in the casualness of what I'm saying. But also, I'm passing on the fact. There it is. I don't think you know, but now you know. That's it. Again, what you do with it is your business. But I'm aware that you're not aware that this information, if it was me, I'd want this information. End of story. So I'm not meddling in your affairs. I'm passing on. I'm sharing information. What you do with it is up to you. How you deal with it is also up to you. But in my presence here, in the way that I'm sharing, if you're gonna have hysterics and get nuts, well, I'm leaving. Sorry, it's not appropriate here for me. I don't want to deal with nonsense like that. So I'm sharing it with the understanding and the implication that you are able to deal with it, because I know you're a sensible, honest person. Yeah. So we can be blunt and diplomatic both at the same time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when we get too cushiony on things, we cue that the person isn't able to handle it.
Yeah.
And I just said casually. Yeah, it's like those widows that would talk to me. They didn't cushion what they were saying. They said it directly. And they trusted, because of my earnestness, they trusted that I could handle it. And this was huge to me, the implication. And I did. I never heard shit like that before. This blew my mind, but it's like, wow, and I was appreciative of that. I mean, it gave me great joy. It gives me great joy to this day, when I hear the way they related to me,
Mm-hmm. What was I going to say?
It was vastly respectful.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to say. When we share directly in cases like that, if it's coming from deep respect, easy.
Yeah, it's interesting because in that time frame, probably maybe 5 years before we finally broke up, this girl that I had met, I didn't know her very, very long, but kind of we sparked up a little friendship there. But again, it's not like these other people who I've known now for 15 plus years. This woman said to me, Sue, this is a very hard conversation for me to have, but I need to tell you that Pat has been trying to, or better one, Dick Brain, how you call Pat was coming on to me. He was, hitting on me and so forth. And I said, oh, really? And she said, yeah, and she gave me the whole thing. So why would I not believe her? When
Exactly.
probably inside I had that sensation,
Yeah.
but he always kept me away from it. But
Yeah.
he was true to form. He
Yeah.
came back and I said, hey, what's going on? I hear you're hitting on so and so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, oh, she's an asshole. You believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, he was the biggest narcissist
Yeah. Yeah.
manipulator
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And
Fascinating.
maybe he always ended up saying, oh, no, you're the one I love. Oh,
Yeah,
you're my
yeah, yeah,
really?
yeah,
Well, along with the other 50 people?
Yeah,
You know.
exactly, exactly. And here's the thing, when you hear somebody share communication, like when you say stuff super directly, you are saying it as pure information. I have no axe, I have no iron in the fire, I have no intent, nothing except I am sharing information with you. When you hear information like that, completely devoid of any agenda other than I respect you and here's information for you. End of story. End of story. Now you hear the information, you're not hearing the intent. When somebody's a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, it confuses the communication. And why are they uncomfortable? Why are they awkward? Are they BSing me? Whatever. It immediately starts your brain working. But when you share it so bluntly and purely, and blunt, we tend to confuse blunt with aggression but no, it doesn't need to be. When it's real true bluntness, it's just pure. It just comes out absolutely pure, devoid of any agenda. There it is, boom. And it's almost casual. You just drop it and that's it, move on. I don't care whether you're even going to react to it or not. I've done my part, I've shared it with you. What you do with it is up to you. When you hear it like that, your brain is now focused on the information and the implications and consequences of the information, not why the person said it. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a profound, profound, profound diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's not mentioned in the program because it's very easy to misinterpret. It needs this particularity of verbal communication. It's very hard to put directly there. But it's also a part of that adamance, our adamance on purity, on honesty, on appropriateness. So it's profoundly, profoundly valuable when we can do that,
Yeah.
Now,
and I think my letter is that.
Exactly.
It's to the point. There's no fluff.
Exactly. Now, in that instance, like if I had come to you and said, oh, I saw him out in the bar messing about, that would be me saying it. Right? If somebody else had come about and saying it, somebody who's themselves a bit squirrely and not particularly impeccable and a bit of a narcissist and typically has agendas, then the information is compromised. So, in order to be blunt, we need to first have that impeccability and internal integrity in ourselves. And this also has to be known. Otherwise, that bluntness is compromised before it even comes out. So, this is why the capital D diplomacy is tied to, from slide 1, it's tied to the new nobility. You have to be more to be able to truly be able to employ all of this. If your integrity is in question, forget about being diplomatic. You're just going to end up being bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So capital D diplomacy is totally, and this is your point right now. You are able to do this because you're coming from a point of impeccability and integrity. You're not trying to make a point. You're not trying to put down your mother. You're not trying to make her feel bad. You're not doing anything that is nonsense. This is purely a matter of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? That's the other thing that I heard in that letter. Not just care and concern, but sobriety also. This is purely about sensibility. End of story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the safety point, was for me something to add in there. Yes, it's a personal thing for you. You want to communicate. But there are other reasons. Even if she doesn't talk to you, it's like, come on, not only your safety, but your social stuff, and the politeness and the rudeness. There's more. It's implied there's more. But it's where you are coming from, your intent and your agenda. And like I said, your mother's not stupid. She's going to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Good. I feel good. I think this is going to be...
Yeah, it's great. So I'm making the deeper point about that direct bluntness. if you get to that point where you can speak in that way, and likely you've probably met people that could speak that way, and they were just this refreshingness, they were just marvelous. Yeah, they just always said things directly, and people were like, oh, and yeah, it's like, yeah, so what are you freaking out about? It was just the silly people that freaked out. The sensibles, they never bothered with it. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the people that dance around like, what are you really
Exactly.
saying?
Exactly.
I sometimes I've always struggled with trying to follow somebody.
Exactly.
Exactly what
Exactly.
you're trying to say here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Say it direct. Say it direct. Boy. And you think directly. So be direct. It is you. That's why I was saying this picture, it represents you, that directness and the power. It's obvious. I'm not hiding. Here I am. You can see me from far. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very, very cool. Very cool.
Cool.
Yes, Beena? What do you think about this bluntness point?
I agree.
Say again, Beena?
We're saying that, yes, I agree. It's a big thing.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, I think it has, it's definitely has
Yeah.
a purpose, an appropriateness.
Yeah.
You can't be blunt
Exactly.
on sometimes on
Exactly.
very super sensitive subjects or
Yep.
something. It's like say
Yep.
somebody just died and you
Yep.
can't say, what's your problem? Because you don't understand. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's diplomacy, real difference.
Exactly. It's an adamance on honesty. It's an adamance on respect, on openness, on trust. So to be direct like this, it's a profound diplomacy. Yes, of course, somebody needs to actually be in a space where they literally hear it. Sometimes you can say things, and even though the words are connecting to their ear, it really doesn't get absorbed. So then it requires other mechanisms to actually be heard. But at the point where you do have the attention via pertinence and relevance, then you can be direct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's complex, obviously, but it's very interesting to really understand the whole deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Slide 16, error ease. Being flexible is adamant. Flexibility can be utilized by saying things like, it appears, or it may seem like, or possibly, perhaps, maybe, etc., to get through prickly and sensitive points, especially when something seems even remotely debatable. Using these words will de-emphasize the debatability aspect so that we also need to be adamant on not definitively expressing our points to be absolutes.
Yeah.
The adamance lies on no one insisting on the truth of subjective matters.
Yeah.
So understanding that misunderstanding and misinterpretations are taken as a given. Be adamant that this point is accepted. Being clear to understand and express that there are misunderstandings and misinterpretations, but instead the fact there could be. This is a diplomatic version of we could be wrong, but adamant about never ever using that phrase. And I think that was the biggest point in there for me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So my takeaway is, for me, the need to be flexible when it comes to prickly situations where the other person has a solid view on something. We need to be adamant to be sure. We need adamance to be sure we walk in the arena of avoiding absolutes, because most matters are subjective.
Yeah.
So saying things like possibly, probably, perhaps, etc., will de-emphasize the need to debate undebatable issues.
Yeah.
There is always the possibilities of misunderstanding and misinterpretation, but it is critical when being diplomatic that we are adamant about never saying we could be wrong. Because for me, that would, it kind of what's the word? It kind of implies that we don't know what we're doing.
Exactly.
We do.
Exactly.
We're actually
Exactly.
it's the opposite. We actually do know what we're doing.
Exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah.
Very subtle. Very, very,
That
very
is
subtle.
huge nuance there for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That,
cool. Very cool.
yeah. People think sometimes to say, oh, well, I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well,
No.
yeah, you could be. If you don't think that you have some sensibility, then why am I listening to you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why do you want to put that out there? The bigger component here is knowing you could be wrong without saying it.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, in a forum such as this, where we don't have personal stuff and ego and that doesn't come into it. Now, if I'm introducing a speculative position as a speculative position and saying, look, I do believe this, but I'm not and I am expressing my caution and my doubt. I'm not exactly sure, so I could be wrong, but it seems this way. I'm still saying seems, but now I am expressing this deliberately to say that I could be wrong. So help me out here. Help me to pick holes in this and see if it can hold up. Play devil's advocate. In other words, red team, blue team. So be the red team here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a different matter now, right? Just for clarity's sake, there are times when it's appropriate, like everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the other point that's really useful, it might be, it seems, it appears to be, could be, think of flat Earth conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both today with the flat Earth, people that are making this big whole thing about it, and it really is, and you've seen some of the lengths they go to prove this. But think of the same thing, that if you say, say, well, let's say I just say this as a casual example. I'm saying, well, just like the Earth is round, and I say, well, actually, it seems to be. Sorry, at least it appears to be to me. Now, the end of conversation right there. Yeah, I'm not actually talking about the Earth being round, but because it's their big theory. The moment I mention it casually, just like as a metaphor or something, they say this. And then now they want to bring up their point. But I quickly crush it there when I say, well, it seems to be or could be. Conversely, think of the Flat Earth Society hundreds of years ago before it was accepted theory, right? You've got the math and you've worked it out and you figured it out and you prove it, and now you're Galileo and you're trying to share this with the world, or Copernicus or Kepler. You now also have to put this in. Yes, I know it seems to be flat, but so it's really interesting in that context how powerful that is. The main point is when you say things as a definitive absolute, it provides people opportunity to argue against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so simple, So
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very, very nice way to avoid people. And there's some people who are just contentious simply through a matter of conscience. They say, but I can't accept what you're saying because, how do you know it's an absolute fact? Nobody knows this. So they just object to you saying things in absolute ways. And then you get into all long discussions that needn't be. And they're quite happy. The moment it's just a bureaucracy thing. The moment you change, well, it seems to be, oh, okay. So, just like that. Simple.
Yeah.
Just their honesty won't let them agree to it. They don't want to be complicit to building this database where you're building a foundation, and they now forced to go along with you. You're making them complicit in your theory, which could be wrong, and so it's just a matter of honesty to object.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should object. It's a matter of integrity in a sense. So, yeah, very cool, very cool. Love it.
Slide 17, honoring humility. It is important to have adamance when it comes to our adamance to the fragility of our sensibility, the frailty of our abilities, and the potential inadequacies of the tools we use. Therefore, we must be adamant to not trust our judgment absolutely, nor can we trust our opinions and beliefs implicitly.
Yeah.
This adamance only pertains to us, making us adamant on our humility and modesty. We cue this adamance to be contagious.
Yeah.
We must be adamant to not insist on it for others, just as we have to be adamant on never presuming or being presumptuous.
Yeah.
This is critical. When we are adamant against presumptions as a safeguard against the kryptonite of diplomacy, which is presumption and arrogance.
Yeah. Cool.
So my takeaway is, for me, once we recognize the importance of being adamant in regards to our fragile sensibilities, frail abilities, and possible inadequacies of our tools, then we can avoid being presumptuous and arrogant,
Yeah.
which will kill our ability to be diplomatic.
Yeah.
If we can ourselves have that true adamance of, hey, it's just like we're not perfect. We have we don't know everything.
Yeah.
And that opens it up. Otherwise, you box yourself in to not hearing what they have to say and helping them with their resolutions and letting them find their own way.
Yeah.
It absolutely curtails that. I can certainly understand that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like the very subtle nuance point again, right? We cue our adamance on humility and modesty to be contagious. So I am cueing that for me, humility and modesty is a really big deal. And I am going to be really adamant on exercising my humility and modesty. And I'm cueing also that it's a valuable and a useful thing, especially in our communications and interactions. However, it is still, I'm cueing it as a choice, not as a definitive necessity that you have to take this on. Because the moment you do that, you're telling somebody how to be and how to do. And you remove choice, and then the whole thing backfires. So they can choose it or not. For some, the idea of humility and modesty, it is miscommunicated and misunderstood as being humiliation and loserness and all of this stuff. So they're not in a space yet to get there, right? But again, when we cue an adamance on it for us, we're also cueing it as a point of strength, not as a point of weakness.
Yeah. It is. It's a big deal to keep your humility, and in that, it's tough to have that honesty, but still have a lot of humility behind it.
Exactly. So we really cue it that, hey, this is a power for me. The same thing as vulnerability can be power if we use it appropriately, not a weakness. So that now, oh, wow, okay. They start to think about it differently. And that's part of half the deal. If they don't understand the value of humility and modesty, if they have those misassociations with it, we start to, bring in an alternative perspective, which is useful. Yeah. And it just helps for communication because, one of the aims of capital diplomacy is communication. When we get to where we have capital C communication and therefore also collaboration, we don't need capital D diplomacy, yeah? Mm-hmm. When we have that ability to be direct, we don't need capital D diplomacy, then we are truly in a space of real, beautiful, magical communication and collaboration. Of course, we can bring in things just from an artistry point of view, in terms of just the flourish of beauty, where you're bringing in style and grace and stuff like that. But those become artistry then, not necessity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, you can be blunt and lack beauty and artistry. Okay, it's very effective, but it's not particularly pretty. But first, we need to have that ability. We can add the prettiness later, right? When we get to that space, then we know we're adding this for our own pleasure and joy, not because we have to. A very big difference. So, very cool, very cool. So those skills in the new nobility context, because they apply this capital D diplomacy with each other, but not as a need for diplomacy, but as artistry. It's the same skills. Okay. Does that make sense, Beena?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. It's an interesting thing. Now, also, just to take it a little bit further. So, yes, we use capital diplomacy in situations that require it as the skill that is now making things smoother and easier. And it is a modifying and ameliorating the effects of miscommunication and all sorts of other things, ego and all this other stuff. With those whom it's not needed, it becomes artistry. And when we don't use it, could be when we would revert to, say, bluntness and directness when we're at low energy, because it takes extra energy to add artistry to things. So we also understand that, yes, if we can, we do it, but we must be able to handle bluntness so that when there's low energy or time is a pressure, that we can be direct and blunt. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
time
about
to
the
be
appropriateness of
back.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do want to develop that ability to not only be blunt, but to be able to receive bluntness and directness. Yeah, yeah. Very important, very important. Yeah. As appropriate.
Slide 18, tasks. Make a list of a few commonly expressed opinions or perspectives and then rephrase them in ways which could include flexibility and a certain rubberiness. I got it. That was good. It's good. Yeah, because it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Yeah.
That's what is
Yeah.
flexible.
Yeah.
Rubber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soft rubber. Anyway.
Yeah.
For me, one of the more commonly expressed opinions: I am not getting the vaccine. It is too experimental.
Ah.
I Hercules. I could rephrase that and saying the vaccine is completely about personal choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
My opinion doesn't need that much play or pull. It's personal. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a hard subject
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was I going to say? So I would say to make it
That's
rubbery.
that's very
Vaccine.
rubbery right there. And you know what? That's not just rubbery, but succinct. And it's just like, well, end of story. Fine. You don't need to make a big case why you're going to justify why you do it. It's your choice. I don't need to hear all your reasons for it. You don't have to justify it to me. It's your choice.
Exactly. It's a personal
End of
choice.
story. Life is easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another one is, what's the matter with her? Again, rephrased, I would think I would prefer saying, is everything okay? Would you like to talk about anything? So again, you clear you see something wrong, but you don't jump down somebody's throat and
Right.
pin them into a space. It says, what the hell's wrong with you? Or, is there, ask the person,
Right.
are you okay? Maybe they have a headache. Maybe
Yeah.
their dog
Yeah.
just died.
Exactly. Now, I thought you were taking the example of when, you were looking at somebody across the room, like at a party or somebody, and the person next to you say, "Oh, what's the matter with her?" The response to them is what I thought you were saying. Something like to say, "Oh, that's a good question. You never know. Sometimes it doesn't show on the outside. It could be one of any things. I know sometimes for me, I don't always show what's going on. Like, who knows? Sometimes it's a really big deal,
No.
and then we behave a bit weirdly because we don't want to share."
Yeah, both ways. If somebody would say that, what the hell's the matter with her? Yes, the response would be, geez, maybe there's something the woman's going through that we don't know about. Don't judge her that, so severely. But if I'm in a space with somebody one-on-one and they seem all weird and quirky and, I'm like, what the fuck's your problem? Or what bugs up your ass? Is it, if people say all the time. No, is everything okay? People don't realize the contagiousness of their moods.
Yeah.
And again, if we're going to be impeccable and relentlessly positive, you don't want that pushed on any further in the world. So stop it and ask them. Be earnest and ask them. I want to know if you can talk about it. I really want to try to understand what's going on.
And a nice condensed version of that can be, one never really, really knows, do you?
Yeah.
Now I'm agreeing, first of all, with the yeah, as if this is what they were saying by implication, not being catty and nasty. And now you make it a deep and philosophical, thoughtful thing. Oh, crap, yeah. Now what do you say after that? Is the other person, can they now say, oh, yeah, they can't really kind of rag on the person because maybe it is something deep, and then you're just going to make yourself into a jackass, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the abstract of that is to take the implication that they're saying, and instead of connecting to their, it's an open-ended question, but their implication is that there's a shallowness and a crappiness to the reason, which it could be. But all we did was extend that to say it could be crappy and it could be more and deep. I'm not disagreeing with you that it's crappy, but I'm saying it could also be deep. Yeah, well, and they can say, yeah, you're right. Well, in their case, probably not. They're always doing this, and every time I ask them, it turns out to be rubbish. Okay, fair enough. But it could also be that there's moreness. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You don't. You
I
don't.
don't. Well, just instead of the specific answer, I'm looking for the abstract understanding of it. And all we did was just take it to more. We added realness and depth and value, good reason to crappy reason. That's what we did. We just extended, right? That's our diplomacy. They were expressing something which kind of, the way they express it just creates a bubble of crappiness. And all we did was take that and just extend it. We didn't deny it, we just extended it. That's why the yeah, one never really knows, do you? Oh, yeah. So I'm agreeing with you, but you never really know. And my tone and implication, it's all more. I'm giving them the credit of the doubt, as if they were saying super diplomacy, right?
Yeah. Well. And here's another phrase that popped up for me. If you say to somebody, why must you drink yourself to happiness? But in rephrase, I might say, does your drinking feel indulgent? And what is really underneath that indulgence that needs to surface and be faced? So again, to me, that's rubbery because it's opening up a whole lot of things instead of, it's almost accusatory when you say it, why must you drink to
right.
have
right.
find your happiness?
Right.
Yes, it's accusatory. Yes, it's a fact. Yes, that's what they're doing. But they shut down. People shut down. Most people do because they feel like they're being backed into a corner somewhere.
Right. So, if we take drinking or any kind of a thing of that nature, any sort of addictive belief, what is when we really zoom out and we get to the abstract understanding of it? What's the core issue? When people do things which don't make sense, right, to us at least, or even to them, typically it's misbeliefs, right?
Misbeliefs, they're unaware.
Right, exactly. So all we have to do is, in a case like that, for the rubbiness, we can just express the deeper underlying abstractness to say, who knows, misbeliefs, misassociations, unawareness. There's 100 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Is that Sir William?
No, it's Hercules. Still work because I didn't go get the mail.
So Hercules is stressing about the mail?
Yeah. So he goes upstairs now.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I noticed he's barking a little longer than he did the other times. It was just once or twice today. There was a bit of a continuation, but not crazy stress.
Probably because I'm not going to the door right now.
Yeah. Interesting. Same, Gotta appreciate the intent to goodness there for him,
Yeah. Next question. Why does the simple way we express something lead to contention, even if someone doesn't mean to be? Hercules, thank you. Yeah. Come here, Bubby. Thank you very much. Mom will get it. Okay? It's a good boy. For me, when it comes as a direct opinion with no room for other perspectives, it can make the other person feel like they're being backed into a corner.
Exactly.
When that happens, they will come out fighting.
Exactly.
there's no advantage. There's no advantage. Yeah. Yeah. Next one is, how does your expression itself force another to disagree? How does your expression itself sometimes force another to disagree? For me, when it sounds like it is about right or wrong or black or white, and it becomes a very limited view.
Yeah.
So if you're going to lock yourself into an absolute opinion, they're going to come back at you.
Oh yeah.
It's like the world is
Exactly.
flat or
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly. And also, it is that forcing complicity or to condone. You know, no, it's forcing again. Whenever you are forcing something, that's it. And like telling, it's a force.
Yeah.
We don't like to force or be forced. So yeah.
Next one here, I didn't. It says, share a few examples of deliberately expressing something in such a way that an expectation of misunderstanding is already built in and prepared for, and they are ready to be adjusted easily. I'm like, what? That's the only task I didn't get. So I'm gonna be honest. As soon as you got to the point where, with the expectation of misunderstanding already built in, please explain that so I can answer it.
I'm not sure if I'm going to express this accurately, but let me give it a try.
Okay.
It's too simple sometimes. It's too simple sometimes.
Freaking A.
I thought I'd have a bit of fun with that one. It's too
Yeah.
simple. I love this when this happens. It happens for Beena sometimes too. It's like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And there's an expectation of depths and layers and more. And sometimes it's just like a simple, obvious thing.
So I'm not sure I understand this one,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I may be wrong, but ...
Yeah, or this is a tricky issue to express, because it's sensitive. Whatever. Sometimes we don't want to hear what we don't want to hear because it's awkward and uncomfortable. I'm already telling you that likely we're just gonna have a misunderstanding here, right? The expectation of misunderstanding in some way. This is sensitive. This is difficult. This is awkward. This is complex. This is complicated. All of those are anticipating potential misunderstanding or miscommunication. Yeah. Stick with me. Stick with me. Hang in there. Hang in there till I get to the end. Don't make any assumptions before I'm really finished. You said that to Bill the one time. You said to him, right? So just hear me all the way to the end. Don't say please, because where it starts is not where it ends. Yeah. So many ways to do this, and it's very cool. It's very, very potent, as you know from that time when you did that with Bill, right? Remember?
And I said, please let me finish. I want to hear what you're saying, but I need to get this out. Then you can jump, but please don't interrupt me. There were some big ones. That was all about the organ donation stuff.
Yes. And it was very potent, not just for you, but also for him, right? Yes. I mean,
and
because
he got to do capital H hearing himself.
Yes.
He was forced. He was huge. I guess he was forced.
A little bit.
Shut up and listen.
Yeah. But you did it diplomatically, and you heard the earnestness and the importance. And because it was important to you, he was happy and willing to do it. Because you'd asked him with the deep earnestness, please, this is really important to me. Okay, I'm happy to do what's important to you. Right? Within limits, of course. He said, I'll go along with it, but I'm not going to like it. Right? Yeah. We love you, Bill. We love you, Bill, wherever you are. Right? Yeah.
Slide 19, tasks. Why do we try avoiding expressing we could be wrong as much as possible?
It's a duplicate question, but all right.
Yeah. For me, most people cannot fathom that they could be wrong because of their arrogance, when in fact, when we are adamant about being humble and do not have all the answers, we end up viewing the opportunity to actually have a real conversation when ego is removed.
Why? Also, and like you said before, from our side, we also don't want to devalue what we're doing. We're making an effort to be thoughtful, to be conscientious, to be deliberate. So, the probability is not about being right, but the probability that what we have to say has merit. This is a whole different thing. We want to also get out of the skewing of right and wrong. We're looking at merit. We're looking at multiple perspectives. If I'm only focused on wrong or right, that's just one end of the spectrum. I'm black and white. I'm missing all the colors. So we don't want to even get that word out there because it limits us to this either or nonsense. And that's it. No. There's many perspectives. We want to share those. So the moment I say I could be wrong, I'm limiting myself to one or two perspectives. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
We cue our adamants on humility and modesty to be contagious. How exactly do we do this?
Well, that's a tough question.
Yeah. For me, just by consciously being adamant to be modest and humble, then our doing will be automatically cued to another without even saying anything, because we don't want to push or force anything on anyone. This is really about us, but it flows into the other person naturally as we are being diplomatic. And again, humility is a power, not a weakness.
So, in that cueing of contagion, could I do that when I notice the tiniest flicker of potential possible humility or modesty, and I react to it with a positivity? Yes, in the other person. I'm taking any tiny little bit of what potentially could be humility and modesty, and I react to it positively, right? So now I'm cueing this to be a valuable thing because, oh, I like that. Oh, this is interesting. Ah, that's good. So through that somewhat little bits of tiny reinforcement, I'm sharing how I value their humility and modesty. You don't have to be it, but I value it when you share it for me. Same way as when you share your humor. You don't have to be. I'm not saying you need to be humorous, but I enjoy it when you share it. Right? Same thing. So then, through that appreciation, in other words, of it, we therefore now sharing this contagion of it, right? In other words, if I truly laugh at your jokes, it's the contagion of my enjoyment cues more humor, yes?
Correct. So it's really about appropriately emphasizing and reacting to their humility and modesty, even if it's in the tiniest bit.
With appreciation. Appreciation is the key tool. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're one more minute. I think we're going to stop here.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Then we got time to hear Beena. Before we do recap. Beena, let's hear.
Trusting and valuable. Yes, I'm listening.
Sounds like Beena's in deep thought. That all we're going to get, Beena?
Yes, right now this is what I have.
Too bad for you. You can prod and pry all you like. That's all you're getting.
That's it. That's all I got. There's the
There we go. Direct bluntness. Perfect, Beena.
Okay
Application. I love it. Very cool, Beena. I love it when I get surprised, Enjoy it. Very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
Very cool. I'm really enjoying your embrace of your directness. It's very cool. It's very cool. It's very liberating to just experience. At least for me, I feel it as liberating. I imagine so for you, but that's what I kind of feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. Thank you. But also, I just have to say is I love how differently I'm doing the slide.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. It is so nice to hear. Here's another thing with the bluntness, right? And something to practice. To express when we don't know. What the hell are you just saying there? I don't get it. It's completely, I'm not getting it. Can you just say that again? I'm really not getting it. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. This is important because sometimes we are so afraid to express ignorance that's going to make us look stupid that actually we make ourselves stupid. And by not saying it, everybody sees that you're not getting it. And now you're not saying it proves that you are stupid. Whereas when you ask, I don't get it. Sorry, I'm not. But there's an implication. I can get it. That's why I'm asking. I want to get it. That's why I'm asking. So you are cueing that you don't think that you are stupid, and by asking, say, "Well, I will get it." Okay. And there's also the impliedness in when you say, "I don't get it." I'm not getting it now in this instance. I get other things. Sometimes stuff just doesn't resonate, and it is peculiar, and it's implied in your directness. Yeah. This one, like you can say, for instance, this one is just not clicking with me. I need different angles on it or something. Oh, it's a perspective issue. Okay,
Yeah.
life is easy.
I must have
So we
read
can.
that 20, yeah, I must have read that 20 times. And I'm like, you know what? This
Yeah.
one I'm not getting. There's
Yeah.
something got me hung up in that one word.
Yeah.
And it just put
There
me
you
down.
go.
But
There
again,
you go.
this program really helped me because remember I went through that dip there where like I'm really fucking stupid. Why am I not getting out of it? Getting out of it. But
Oh,
to
you
be
mean the
able-
self-honesty dip?
Yeah. Huh? What's that?
The being a jackass.
But
You opened the door for me, Sue.
and I missed it. I missed the entrance. Yeah, sorry.
Exactly.
Um,
That's all
but
right.
it's when we can be okay, and now I just understand. It was simple. I don't know it right now,
Exactly.
not yet, but I'm going to know it,
Exactly.
and I'm going to know even more then.
Exactly.
But because we, come with that misbelief that I didn't
Exactly.
have a college
Exactly.
education, I didn't have this, I
Exactly.
didn't have that.
Exactly.
I'm not capable of understanding how other people.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
Not true. And I'm
And that's
just
my
much
point with the
freer.
exactly. That's the point and the intent behind the bluntness to say I don't know.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
I don't get it. Say again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm queuing. I'm queuing that I can get it because of my interest. But I don't have any apologies for not getting it. I simply just, in this case, don't get it. That's it. And I want to know. Please say again. Say it in a different way. That's it. Whatever. No problem. So it becomes a non-issue because we have that pure bluntness, which is just pure. And that's it. And the person doesn't even think that anything that, stupid or idiotic or whatever. No. Not like, how could you not get this? Well, it's not even a thought. They just repeat, right? That's it. So the bluntness goes direct and it's real fast and okay, move on, next thing. It's fantastic. Now, sometimes it may take a long time. Say, I'm still not getting it. Dang it. The brain is peculiar. Now, again, we cue that, this understanding of miscommunication, misassociations. And, sometimes it takes me quite a while when actually the literal communications are are poor. And I can't hear the word clearly, and my brain keeps hearing it as something else, and it keeps trying to fit it into what it could be because I'm not hearing it clearly. And it may take a while. Ask
And
Beena.
sometimes it does, and I don't feel bad anymore. Like,
Nah,
well,
exactly.
again, I do that with Bill. I say, can you say
Exactly.
it another way? Because I still don't quite
Exactly.
get what you're saying.
And there's the key word, the key phrase. And I don't feel bad anymore.
Well, I don't.
That's the magic.
I don't feel
That
stupid.
is that to me, there's the takeaway. That I would write down in my notes in nice big, put it in quotation marks, circles and clouds and stars and crap. I don't feel bad anymore. About nonsense, in other words, right? By implication. It's not that you become unfeeling. You just don't feel bad about rubbish and nonsense and idiocy and silliness. This is a great, great, tremendous superpower freedom. Yes? You're able to express yourself. That's it. You're just saying it directly. There's no bad intent. There's no ill intent. Nothing. Just directly. I don't feel bad anymore. I'm being true. I'm being honest. I'm being pure. I'm not looking to hurt your feelings. None of the stuff. But I'm not also going to go out of my way to bend myself and twist myself into all sorts of multi-layered, super-dimensional pretzels simply because you might get upset. Well, hey, you know what? You got to grow up a little bit too. I'm going to treat you as an adult, not as a child and a baby and a timid little thing that can't hear stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very powerful. Again.
All right,
yeah,
I gotta go.
yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, such exciting stuff. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Talk
I
to you
love
later.
it. Love it.
Tomorrow
Love it.
morning early.
What a
Bye-bye.
joy. What a joy. Yes, Beena?
Oh, I was just saying that. Bye, Sue.
Bye. See you, B.
So
Have a good one.
fantastic. So
Have a good
fantastic. Wow, 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 wow. Ah, I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm really enjoying Sue doing it this way. And not that I didn't enjoy the way Sue did it before, but this is just magic. Yeah? Beena?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yes.